Hello everyone. This is the continuation about the learning theories in multigrade classes. Some principles of cognitive learning. So when we say cognitive learning, it is a style of learning that encourages students to use their brains more effectively. This way of learning encourages students to fully engage in the learning process. So learning, thinking, and remembering get easier and easier. So cognitive learning, it is focuses on conscious thinking, especially by Piaget and Vygotsky, emphasizes on the individual's active constructions of understanding. It is important of examining developmental changes in children's thinking. Information processing theory offers detailed descriptions of cognitive processes. So ayon kay Schema or Anderson, the cognitive theories is the prior knowledge linkages that influence the amount and proficiency of our learning. Abstract concepts are best understood after a foundation of concrete and relevant information has been established. General knowledge provides a framework into which the newly formed structures can be fitted. Piaget stages of cognitive development. So approximate age. So birth to 2 years. Their stages is sensory motor. Infants use sensory and motor capabilities to explore and gain understanding of their environment. So, sensory motor, during this earliest stage of cognitive development, infants and toddlers acquire knowledge through sensory experiences and manipulating objects. A child's entire experience at the earliest period of this stage occurs through basic reflexes, senses, and motor response. And then 2 to 7 years. Their stages is pre-operational. Children begin to use symbols, their response to objects and events according to how they appear to be. So pre-operational, children become much more skilled at pretend play during this stage of development. They continue to think very concretely about the world around them. And then 7 to 11 years. Their stages is concrete operations. Children begin to think logically. So, while children are still very concrete and literal in their thinking, at this point in development, they become much more adept at using logic. The ecocentrism of the previous stage begins to disappear as kids become better at thinking about how other people might view a situation. So that's the concrete operational. And then 11 years and beyond. Their stages is formal operations. They begin to think about thinking. Thought is systematic and abstract. So the final stage of Piaget's theory involves an increase in logic, the ability to use deductive reasoning, and an understanding of abstract ideas. So at this point, adolescents and young adults become capable of seeing multiple potential solutions to problems and think more scientifically about the world around them. So that is formal operational. Now let's move on to the Piaget stages of cognitive development. So there are three stages of cognitive development. We have assimilations, accommodations, and equilibrium. So when we say assimilation, it is the process of taking and new information into our already existing schema is known as assimilations. The process is what objective because we tend to modify experiences and inform slightly to fit in with our pre-existing beliefs. So that is assimilation. And then accommodation refers to part of the adaptations process and involves alternating one's existing ideas as a result of new informations or new experience. New schemas may also be developed during this process. And then last is equilibrium. As children progress through the stage of cognitive development, it is important to maintain a balance between applying previous knowledge or assimilations and changing behavior to account for new knowledge or accommodations. Piaget believed that all children try to strike a balance between assimilations and accommodations, using a mechanism he called equilibrium. So equilibrium helps explain how children can move from one stage of thought to the next stage. So that's the equilibrium. Some cognitive theories. So learning via science, Brunner highlights the influence of our motivations, changes developmentally and or of three stages of motivations in active, iconic, and symbolic. So Brunner conclude that at any age we learn best when we are motivated to perceive by insightful experiences. Zone of proximal development by Vygotsky. So we have four basic principles underlying the Vygotskian framework. Vygotskian framework. So first is children's contractual knowledge. Then development cannot be separated from its social context. Then learning can lead development. Then the last is the language plays a central role in mental development. So when we say the zone of proximal development, it is the gap between what a student can do independently and what they can potentially do with the help of a more knowledgeable other. So, zone proximal developments, the learner is close to developing the new skills or knowledge, but they need assistance and encouragement. So, for example, imagine a student has just mastered basic addition. At this point, basic subtractions may enter their zone of proximal development, meaning that they have the ability to learn subtractions and will likely to be able to master it with the guidance and supports. Learning cycles or 5Es. The 5Es represent 5 stages of a sequence for teaching and learning. So we have engage, explore, explain, extend, and evaluate. So when we say engage, the purpose of the engage stage is to pick student interest and get them personally involved in the lesson, while pre-assessing prior understanding, while processing prior understanding. During this experience, students first encounter and identify the instructional task or topic. So, during the engage stage, the students make connections between past and present learning experiences. setting the organizational ground for upcoming activities. So, that is engage. Then, the explore naman is the stage the students have the opportunity to build their own understanding of essential content, working independently or in teams. Students build a common framework. The teachers act as a facilitator, providing materials and guiding the student focus. So that is explore. And then the explain is the stage that which learners begin to communicate what they have learned. Language provides motivations for sequencing events into a logic format. So communications occurs between peers with the facilitator and through the reflective process. And then extend is the purpose of the extend stage is to allow students to use their new knowledge and continue to explore its implications. At this stage, students expand on the concepts they have learned, make connections to other related concepts, and apply their understanding to the world around them in the new ways. And then the last is the evaluate. The final E or evaluate is an ongoing diagnostic process that allows the teachers to determine if the learner has attained understanding of concepts and knowledge. So evaluation and assessment can occur at all points along the continuum of the instructional process. So that is evaluation. Okay, so ano, those are the 5 stages of sequence for teaching and learning. The 5 is what happens in the classroom. So the classroom is definitely teacher-centered, I think. In so teacher-centered classroom, students put all their focuses on the teachers. And then the students exclusively listen to you. And then during the activities is students work alone and collaborations is discouraged. Okay, so traditional classroom and constructivist classroom. Traditional classrooms begins with a part of the whole emphasizes basic skills, and then strict adherence to fixed curriculum, textbooks and workbooks. Instructors give, students receive. Instructor assumes directive, authoritative rule. Assessment via testing or correct answers. Knowledge is inert. Student work individually. So that is traditional classroom. While the constructivist classroom begins with the whole expanding to parts, pursuit of the students' questions and interest, primary sources or manipulative materials. Learning is interactions building on what students already know. Instructor interacts, negotiates with the students, and then assessment via student works, observation, points of view. Process is as important as product, and then knowledge is dynamic or changes with experiences, and then students works in group. So that is constructivist classroom. Instructor and student. Instructor is the facilitator of knowledge. Co-learner or collaborator, developer or instructions, reflective instructor, discovery facilitator, negotiator or knowledge, team member, information receiver, while the student is the adaptive learner, collaborator or co-learner, co-developer of goals and objectives, knowledge seeker, knowledge creator, reflective learners, learning through discovery, negotiator or knowledge, team member, active learner, responsible learners, mediate on learning. So, that is the instructor and the student. What is your definitions of constructivism? So, for me, constructivism is a learning theory that emphasizes the active role of learners in building their own understanding. Rather than passively receiving information, learners reflect on their experiences, create mental representations, and incorporate new knowledge into their schemas. This promotes deeper learning and understanding. So that is constructivism for me. Constructivism it is a shift emphasis from teaching to learning and individualize and contextualize students' learning experiences, help students develop processes, skills, and attitudes, considers students' learning styles, focuses on knowledge, constructions, not productions, uses authentic tasks to engage learners, provides for maintaining problem-based thinking, requires negotiations of meaning, requires reflections of prior and new knowledge, extends students beyond content presented to them. So, that is the definitions of constructivism. Applying constructivism in the classroom. So, adapt teaching to address students' suppositions and development. Assess student learning in context of teaching, individually and choice in practical tasks, negotiated report titles, practical tasks, use internet to create web pages, concept, maps, and etc. Videos replace or some lectures. Pose problems that are or will be relevant to students. Structure learning around essential concepts. Be aware what students' points of view are windows into their reasoning. So, in the constructivist classroom, teachers play the role of facilitator more so than the instructor. Instead of teachers telling students what and how to think, the teachers create a learning environment where students are encouraged to explore and become active participants in their educational experiences. So that is constructivist classroom. Let's move on to the learning theories. So first theories is behaviorist. Okay, terms conditioning, stimulus, response, reinforcements, motivations, manifestations of learning is learning of physical and mental skills, development of behaviors conducive to a productive classroom, and the theories is Thorndike, Ivan Pavlov, and B.F. Skinner. So, behaviorist is a theory of learning based on the idea that all behaviors are acquired through conditioning, and conditioning occurs through interactions with the environment. So, behaviors believe that our actions are shaped by environment stimuli. So, that is behaviorist. And then next theories is social cognitivism. So, okay, terms of efficacy, social learning is learned by observing others, believe that one can perform a task. And then the theory is Vygotsky and Leib and Bandura. So, this theory provides a framework for understanding how people actively shape and are shaped by their environment. In particular, the theory details the processes of observations, learning, and modeling, and the influence of self-efficacy on the productions of behavior. So that is social cognitivism. And then the last learning theory is cognitivist. So human conscious mind, prior knowledge, rote meaningful learning, insightful learning, scaffolding, is expository approach, manifestive learning is internal processing of the mind, constructivism stage of development, and then the theorist is a Piaget, Vygotsky, Oswald, Gestalt, and Brunner. So cognitivist is focuses on the mental processes of the brain, thinking of the learner, thinking of the learner as a data processor. So that is cognitivism. Okay, so those are the three learning theories. The behaviorist, the social cognitivist, and the cognitivist. Okay, so that is the end of my report. Now, let's answer this output number 4. Output number 4. And then the reflection number 2. So that's all. Thank you.